Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another UFC preview and predictions. This time we've got the main card for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Jeff Neal. If you missed the prelims predictions video, we put that out yesterday, so go watch that. It will be in the description down below. And yeah, we are going to get into this main card. It's really a pay-per-view worthy main card, except, I mean, it's lacking a main event to be a pay-per-view card, but don't get me wrong, the main event between Wonderboy and Jeff Neal is very good. I'm so excited for that fight and the rest of this main card. All right, let's get straight into it with Anthony Pettis and Alex Morono. And folks, real quick, if you have not yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below for more UFC here on the channel. All right, so we're starting here with Anthony Pettis and Alex Morono. Let's start with Alex Morono. So his last fight, he did beat Reese McKee on Felder and Dos Anjos over in November, just a month ago, of course, in the Apex. He got the job done there against Reese McKee. Reese McKee, it just didn't look that good in that fight, really didn't. And before that, he fought Chaos Williams, who was fighting later on in this card against Michel Pereira. Oh my goodness, what a fight. But Morono did get knocked out by Chaos Williams in about 20 seconds because Chaos Williams is insane with his power. I mean, we'll talk about it in a second, but yeah, Chaos Williams has deadly pop in his shot. But yeah, Morono did lose that fight by KO to Chaos Williams on UFC 247. Before that, he beat Max Griffin, beat Zach Otto, and a couple other fighters as well. Came into the UFC, got a win, then fought Nico Price, lost to Nico Price over in Houston, Texas on Bermudez and Korean Zombie, but it was overturned because Nico Price tested positive for marijuana, so that got overturned. But I mean, technically it is still a loss for Alex Morono, even though the record will say a no contest. And yeah, for Alex Morono, we've got an over record of 18 wins and 6 losses. The UFC run, though, has been pretty damn good for Alex Morono. Of course, the wins over Max Griffin and Zach Otto back-to-back. The first one being the Zach Otto fight over in Wichita on the Luis Dos Santos card, and then the Max Griffin fight being in Tampa on the Joanna and Michelle Watterson card. The Chaos Williams fight, though, really just pushes Alex Morono back down the card because, of course, after those 2 wins, he's getting on, or after those 3 wins, after the Max Griffin fight, UFC 247, of course, he's pretty high on the card. He's not on the main card of the pay-per-view, but he's on the ESPN part where they put on ESPN. He's not on the early, which used to be on Fight Pass, but no, he was on the middle section of the card. And yeah, the Chaos Williams fight, again, Williams was a late replacement in that one, and I'm supposed to fight, I believe, Diego Lima, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, Morono was supposed to win the fight. He didn't, and you know, Reese McKee, again, I've talked about that fight before. I mean, I kind of thought pretty highly of Reese McKee coming over from Cage Wars. Obviously, his 2 fights in the UFC have not gone to plan. Of course, I mean, they fed him to Hamza Chimaev first. That didn't end well. And then the Morono fight, yeah, it was just pure domination by Alex Morono. I don't think Reese McKee won a round in that one. And yeah, I definitely don't remember him winning a round. I mean, he was somewhat competitive, but Morono really just pushed the pressure in that fight. Reese McKee had 0 offense. And yeah, so Morono goes from Reese McKee to a former champion now, though, and Anthony Pettis. So let's talk about Showtime. So Anthony Pettis' last fight was weird. It was on UFC 249 Jacksonville, right? Ferguson Gaethje. I picked Donald Cerrone to win the fight, and I thought Cowboy won that fight pretty easily, 2-1. Like, even Anthony Pettis was shocked he won that fight. You know, people calling Donald Cerrone washed up. Yes, he lost like 3 straight fights in a row. He got knocked out in all 3 of them, but like, I mean, look at the fighters he fought. Ferguson, Gaethje, McGregor back-to-back. And then I thought he beat Anthony Pettis. And the Nico Price fight was a draw. Now it's a no contest. But still, I mean, I don't think Cowboy fought that bad in that fight. I definitely don't think he should be one of the 60 fighters released. He's not going to be. But hey, maybe I'll make a video of the 60 fighters that could get released. That's kind of messed up. But I mean, actually, there are some fighters that you can maybe predict that will get dropped from the company. But yeah, back to Anthony Pettis, right? So I didn't think Anthony Pettis beat Donald Cowboy Cerrone, and then he lost to Carlos Diego Ferreira over on UFC 246 on Cowboy and Connor. So that's if he lost the Cowboy fight, it's a 2-fight losing streak. And then the Nate Diaz fight, he just got dominated, which was really weird because Nate Diaz coming off a 2-year layoff, just beat him up on UFC 241, Miocic Cormier #2. So honestly, I see that Anthony Pettis is on a 3-fight losing streak, but again, they gave him the win in the Cowboy fight, so there's that. I mean, the really impressive performance for Anthony Pettis here, though, is the win over Stephen Thompson. It was so weird because he was coming up from 155. Of course, he had the fight against Michael Chiesa. He beat him on UFC 226, which was Miocic Cormier #1, and then he lost to Tony Ferguson. Really good fight, by the way. Of course, on Conor and Khabib. So he's coming off of that fight against Tony Ferguson, one of the greatest fights ever. And then he fights Wonderboy in the main event in Nashville, Tennessee. And Wonderboy's doing his thing, of course. I mean, Stephen Thompson's a very technical fighter. He's going to win on the outside. He's going to pick his shots. And he's a very precise striker. And, yeah, it was weird because Wonderboy was winning the fight, but then all of a sudden, as soon as Pettis got backed up against the fence, boom, popped right off of it, got the Superman punch, and ended the fight. Again, he was losing the first 10 minutes of the fight, but hey, he got the job done. And then ever since, though, he really hasn't looked too impressive. And then, yeah, I mean, we could go through the big Anthony Pettis run where he won the lightweight championship in both WEC and in the UFC as well. And then his featherweight run that he lost to Max Holloway for the title. I mean, he only had 2 fights at featherweight. He beat Charles Oliveira and then got the Holloway fight. And then he came back to the lightweight fight Jim Miller, which was weird, over in Vegas on the Romero Whitaker card. But yeah, for Pettis, we got over a record of 23 wins with 10 losses. Again, has not been that great in his last couple fights. We really haven't seen like peak level performance Anthony Pettis, I would say, since the Tony Ferguson fight. Yes, he beat Wonderboy, but he was losing that fight the first 10 minutes until he landed the big knockout blow, the big Superman punch. So honestly, I think since the Ferguson fight, we haven't seen like the Anthony Pettis that we saw during his title run. So that's just kind of concerning. He's only 33, and Alex Morono, like, yes, he just beat Reese McKee, and yes, he has a couple wins back-to-back. I don't think he beats Anthony Pettis. I think Anthony Pettis is just too good for Alex Morono in this one. Of course, this is back at welterweight, so Pettis is back at 170 again. And yeah, I think Pettis is going to win this one. I think he's going to outstrike Alex Morono in this one. And yeah, I think he's just going to be able to control this pace wherever it goes. Yes, both guys are good on the feet and on the ground as well, but I think Pettis will have the slight advantage on the ground and on the feet too. So I'm going to go with the decision win here for Anthony Pettis. I think just overall, man, the experience and the skill is just going to be too much for Alex Morono. Next up in the women's flyweight division, we have got Jillian Robertson taking on Talia Santos. Let's start here with Talia Santos. So, last fight was supposed to be against Montana De La Rosa. Obviously, that fight did get canceled 2 weeks ago. And then before that, she did fight Molly McCann. She won that fight by unanimous decision. Before that, she lost to Romero Barella, which, yeah, you don't want to lose to Barella. I mean, she lost that fight by split decision. Yikes. And then before that, she won on the contender. And every time Talia Santos has fought in the past, I talked about it, you know, the competition she faced outside the UFC, she only fought a fighter with a winning record once, and the fighter was 3-1. And that was Talia Santos' 14th professional fight. Yikes, right? So, again, she looked good in the Molly McCann fight. I thought Molly McCann was going to run right through her, considering the loss for Talia Santos against Romero Barella, because, again, Barella's out the UFC. She lost her last 4 to Lauren Murphy, Montana De La Rosa, Courtney Casey, and Mayra Bueno Silva. And yeah, I mean, Talia Santos, though, all around, what we've seen out of her, she's a pretty good striker, and she's got a decent ground game as well, but the striking is the key for Talia Santos. I mean, and it kind of sets up the classic striker versus grappler fight, because we know Jillian Robertson is really damn good on the ground. But I mean, Talia Santos can work on the ground too. She's not bad down there as well, but again, the fight that sticks out is the Romero Barella fight, and yes, she did only lose that one by a split decision, but like, I mean, come on, man. Romero Barella did not do well in her tenure in the UFC. And then, of course, Santos got the over record of 16-1 with the one loss. I keep bringing it back up, but the one loss is to Mara Barella. And yes, again, the Molly McCann fight was very good. I going into that fight, I thought there was no chance in hell Talia Santos was going to beat Molly McCann. Obviously, I was proved wrong in that one. But I think she's going to have problems here with Jillian Robertson. I really think she's going to. Let's go now to Jillian Robertson. So her last fight, she beat Poliana Botello. Really good win by unanimous decision. I mean, she just controlled that entire fight. It was back in Abu Dhabi on the Ortega and Korean Zombie card. It was just a beatdown on the ground by Jillian Robertson, as most of her fights are. And then before that, she beat Courtney Casey by rear naked choke over in Vegas on the Blades Volkov card. And before that, she ran into Macy Barber, which, I mean, Macy Barber's on a really big run. She's coming back. I do believe it is in January. I don't know what card it is in Abu Dhabi, but she is fighting Alexa Grasso. It's a pretty good fight. But Robertson did lose to Macy Barber in Boston, the Reyes Wyman card. I mean, Macy Barber's run through everyone at that time, and yeah, Jillian Robertson got stuck standing with Macy Barber because she could not get her to the ground, and that's how you're going to beat Jillian Robertson. You're going to stuff takedowns, and you're going to keep her on the feet, and you're probably going to win the fight. But the problem is, if it hits the mat, Jillian Robertson is very good down there. She's got really good jiu-jitsu. But yeah, I mean, also before that, she beat Veronica Macedo, lost to Mayra Bueno Silva, beat Molly McCann, and then her first fight in the UFC, she beat Emily Whitmere. And yeah, I think with this fight, Jillian Robertson will now hold the most fights in the women's flyweight division. I do believe it's either her or Kaylin Kuchagian. I think Kaylin Kuchagian might have taken it back with her last fight against Cynthia Calvillo, which, again, I got wrong. That was a weird fight. But yeah, I'm not sure. She's either going to tie her or she's going to retake the lead for the most fights in the division. Of course, she is fighting, or she's training now with Dean Thomas, of course. Dana White's looking for a fight legend in Dean Thomas over in Florida. And yeah, I mean, again, she looked really good in her last couple of fights, back-to-back wins. And I picked against Talia Santos in the Montana De La Rosa fight. I'm going to do it again. I honestly just, yeah, it's just, she beat Molly McCann, yes, but I'm still not sold on Talia Santos. And I think Jillian Robertson's going to be able to take this fight to the ground and win the fight. But again, kind of like the Montana De La Rosa fight, well, if Talia Santos stuffs one, she's probably going to beat her on the feet. And kind of like the Macy Barber fight for Jillian Robertson, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Robertson's going to get this one to the ground. And yeah, I think she's going to force a submission win in this one. I think Talia Santos, honestly, in her career has not fought anyone with the jiu-jitsu skills like Jillian Robertson. So yeah, we're going to go with the Jillian Robertson submission win in this one. Yeah, I know it's kind of a risky pick going with the sub, but I think she's going to be able to do it. Again, I picked Montana De La Rosa, and I think Jillian Robertson's a lot better than Montana De La Rosa. So we're going with the Jillian Robertson submission win. Next up, we are in the heavyweight division for Marcin Tybura and Greg Hardy. Let's start here with Greg Hardy. So his last fight did knock out Maurice Green early in the second round on Anderson Silva and Uriah Hall over in Las Vegas. And yeah, it was a pretty good win for Greg Hardy. Maurice Green coming off a win over Jan Vellante. Yeah, but I mean, still, Greg Hardy looked good in the fight, and he won the fight. So there you go, Greg Hardy. And then before that, Yorgan De Castro. I picked Yorgan De Castro to win that fight. Again, apparently I saw something in Yorgan De Castro that really hasn't developed yet. I mean, I don't know. He lost to Greg Hardy and lost to Carlos Felipe. I was big on the Yorgan De Castro win against Justin Tafa. I don't know, it was just me. I thought he looked pretty good in that fight. Whatever. So yeah, Greg Hardy just beat Yorgan De Castro up because Yorgan De Castro broke his hand, but it wouldn't have mattered. Greg Hardy's a better fighter than Yorgan De Castro is. And then before that, for Greg Hardy, he went over to Moscow, Russia to take on Alexander Volkov in the co-main event of Zabit Magomed Sharipov and Calvin Kattar. He lost that fight by unanimous decision, but he took that fight on about like 8 days notice because JDS had to pull out last second with an injury. And before that, for Greg Hardy, he beat Ben Sassoli, but then it got overturned because he used an inhaler in between rounds. Yikes. And then he beat Juan Adams. Before that, no longer in the UFC. He beat Dmitry Smolkov. Where they get that dude, I don't know. But he's up the UFC. And then before that, he illegally kneed Alan Crowder while he was down. And I don't believe Alan Crowder is still in the UFC. I don't think so. Yeah, he retired in November 2019 after he got knocked out by Biggie Boy Jairzinho Rozenstruik. So yeah, Greg Hardy over a record of 7-2. We've basically seen his entire career in the UFC. I mean, he's only had one fight that was not in the UFC banner. I mean, technically the Contender Series isn't, but I mean, he's only had one fight that wasn't in the UFC/Contender Series as a professional. And yeah, what do we know about Greg Hardy? Well, he's got a lot of power. We've seen him knock out multiple fighters. Again, who are these fighters? Dmitry Smolkov and Juan Adams and Maurice Green. Maurice Green obviously a lot better than the previous two. Now, the ground game, have we seen Greg Hardy on the ground? No, we haven't. I mean, the only time we've, seen Greg Hardy ever touch the canvas, was the Juan Adams fight where Juan Adams shot him for a single and just took, maybe, I don't know, 50 straight punches, and the fight was over because he just wasn't defending himself, and then Juan Adams got up and was like, what the hell, man? I was still in the fight. He was clearly out the fight. He went 0-3 in the UFC, and now he is gone. I don't know. Oh, he's in Aries Fighting Championship now. That's cool. That of course is Juan Adams. But yeah, Greg Hardy, again, he's probably going to end up on the ground if he doesn't knock out Marcin Tybura in the first couple minutes of this fight, because Marcin Tybura will just drag everyone to the canvas. But we saw a lot from Marcin Tybura in his last fight, so let's now talk about Tybura. Marcin Tybura. So Marcin Tybura's last fight was good, man. It was a good performance over Ben Rothwell. It really was. I thought Ben Rothwell was going to win the fight. Obviously, did not go our way, but man, I mean, he did pretty well in that one. And yes, he won in the clinch scenarios. Yes, he won when Tybura backed Ben Rothwell towards the fence of the cage. But Tybura did pretty well standing with Ben Rothwell in that one. He really, I mean, yes, it was because he was really just pushing the pressure on Ben Rothwell, and Rothwell got really tired towards the end of that fight, but Tybura looked pretty good standing in that one, and it was honestly one of the better performances in Marcin Tybura's career. Yes, I would probably go back to the Andre Arlovski fight over in Singapore, but I mean, yeah, that was a long time ago. That was in 2017. I mean, at that point, Colby Covington was still fighting Dong Hyun Kim. So, I mean, Marcin Tybura looked really good in that last fight against Ben Rothwell. The Maxime Grishin fight, I mean, that was a classic Marcin Tybura fight. Just push him against the cage, working the clinch, you know, get control time, work in the clinch a little bit more, and oh, okay, we're gonna work in the clinch a little bit more. I mean, that's really been Marcin Tybura's strategy in fights, and it's kind of unfortunate that that's really just been what he's done, and that's kind of, I mean, it wins in fights, but I mean, that's just like the stereotypical Marcin Tybura fight. And the Sergey Spivak fight, again, was kind of like the same. That was on Benavidez and Figueiredo, won over in Norfolk, Virginia. Those last 3 fights were all wins, and they're all by unanimous decision. He fought Augusto Sakai, lost that one by KO over in Vancouver on the Cowboy Gagey card. Lost that one in about a minute, and then before that fought Shamil Abdurakhimov. Lost that one by TKO in St. Petersburg, Russia on Overeem and Oleinik, and then before that beat Stefan Struve. Unanimous decision, just laid on Stefan Struve for about 15 minutes. Lost to Derek Lewis by TKO, lost to Fabricio Verdum, and then of course we are back now to the Andre Arlovski fight. Of course, Marcin Tybura is the former M1 heavyweight champion. Again, this was in 2015, where he beat Ante Delija for that title. And yeah, I mean, for Tybura, again, he's still got power. I mean, we know that, but he really just doesn't showcase it because he doesn't want to get into these, I mean, these just slugfests with these big heavyweights. And in a Greg Hardy fight, you know Greg Hardy for the first minute, or honestly, the first round, is just going to be throwing everything into his shots. And it kind of sets up for a perfect Marcin Tybura win in this one. I really feel like it does. Because Tybura, again, can just push him against the fence, just use his wrestling, because we have never seen the Greg Hardy wrestling. I mean, we haven't seen it much, like, if at all. So it's a really tough fight to call because, yes, Greg Hardy's got a lot of power, but Marcin Tybura looked really good against Ben Rothwell, and Ben Rothwell is better than every single fighter Greg Hardy has fought except for Alexander Volkov, okay? But still, yes, I would say Ben Rothwell is better than Maurice Green. So, again, it's such a tough one because will it be Tybura's grappling or will it be Greg Hardy striking? And I think it'll probably be Marcin Tybura. Again, I kind of think it could go either way. I would not be surprised if Greg Hardy knocks out Marcin Tybura in about a minute, kind of like Augusto Sakai did, and kind of like Shamil Abdurakhimov did, even though the Abdurakhimov fight was in the second round. But I think Tybura is going to do the same thing to Greg Hardy, kind of like what he did to Stefan Struve. Yes, Stefan Struve and Greg Hardy are two very different fighters, but I think, honestly, Greg Hardy's wrestling has never been tested. And yes, Greg Hardy is a big heavyweight. The dude cuts to get down to 265. I mean, hell, his last fight, he was almost the first fighter to miss weight at heavyweight. I mean, I think he came in at 267.5. And then he went back. I mean, he easily got back down. I think his final weight was weigh-in was 255.5. So again, Greg Hardy can definitely make 265 or 265.5. Excuse me. So again, Hardy's a really big heavyweight, but Marcin Tybura, the wrestling I think will be too much. He's a pretty big heavyweight too, weighing in, I believe, around 255 in his last fight against Ben Rothwell. And yeah, I'm gonna go with the Marcin Tybura decision win. I think it's going to be one of those, again, classic Tybura fights. Just grind him out, wrestling style. Just overwhelm Greg Hardy. And yeah, I'm going with the Marcin Tybura decision win. So now a really good one over at bantamweight. We have got Rob Font taking on Magic Marlon Moraes. Let's start here with Rob Font. So, last fight against Ricky Simone. He did win that one over on Overeem Rozenstruik over in December 2019 in DC. All right, and then before that, his last fight was in December of 2018 over on the final fight card on Fox, Lee Iaquinta 2 over in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He beat Sergio Pettis there by unanimous decision. Before that, he lost to Rafael Assunção on UFC 226, and before that, beat Thomas Almeida, which was really Rob Font's biggest win against Thomas Almeida, because before that, he did lose to Pedro Munoz. Before that, beat Douglas Silva, beat Matt Schnell, lost to John Lineker, and then to start off his UFC career, he beat George Roop and Joey Gomez as well. And yeah, Rob Font, he just doesn't fight that often. Just more recently. Because again, we haven't seen him in a year. It's going to be 3 straight years in a row where Rob Font fights in December, but he fights in December of 18, December of 19, and December of 20 back to back to back. So hopefully it won't be another year until December 2021 until Rob Font fights again. But of course, with Rob Font, really good stand-up game. We saw them in the Thomas Almeida fight. He caught Thomas Almeida with the head kick over on UFC 220 on Miocic Ngannou. Of course, that was on the main card of that pay-per-view, and it was a really big one for Rob Font. And then after that, he got the big fight against Rafael Santos, and he lost that one. Again, that was on the other Miocic and Cormier card. Yes, Santos fought well in that fight, but, you know, Rob Font, a guy who is in the top 10 here, finally getting, though, his big shot against Marlon Moraes, who just a couple fights ago fought for the UFC title. But yeah, of course, Rob Font, really good striking. We really haven't seen much of the ground game. We've only seen him get one submission finish in UFC so far. That was the Douglas Silva fight and the Pedro Munoz fight. Well, Pedro Munoz is a very good grappler, and Rob Font is a good grappler, but Pedro Munoz is an elite grappler. So in this one, though, Marlon Moraes is pretty good on the ground. We just don't see it much. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but again, it feels like everyone's a black belt in jiu-jitsu at this point. I mean, for what it is, Rob Font is a brown belt in BJJ, but I mean, for the most part, though, the main focus point of this Rob Font fighting style is the power and the really good striking. And we saw in the Ricky Simone fight, just outstruck him that entire fight. Same with the Sergio Pettis fight, and especially, again, I'm gonna bring it up again, the Thomas Almeida fight. Almeida fight was pretty damn impressive at the time, because at that point in time, I mean, hell, Almeida had only lost to 2 fighters, Cody Garbrandt, Jimmy Rivera, and that is it. So that is Rob Font finally getting Magic Marlon Moraes. Let's talk about the former title challenger, though, in Marlon Moraes. So Marlon Moraes just fought a couple months ago against Corey Sandhagen, and he lost that fight against Sandhagen. We got Felon right, by the way. I think Corey Sandhagen to win that one. But yeah, Sandhagen knocked him out early in the second round. And, you know, Marlon Moraes, Corey Sandhagen said he had a broken orbital. Does Marlon Moraes have a broken orbital? Did he have a broken orbital? That was never disclosed, but if he did, man, I mean, that fight was just in October. It's not that long ago. I mean, before Marlon Moraes, he beat Jose Aldo in a fight that pretty much everyone thought Jose Aldo won, including me. I thought Aldo won the fight, but hey, that's why we have judges, right? And yeah, Jose Aldo ended up getting the title shot instead of Marlon Moraes, or instead of, I don't know, maybe Aljamain Sterling, but okay. That's all right. But Marlon Moraes did win that fight. Before that, he got the shot for the title against Triple C, Henry Cejudo, and Cejudo, yeah, I mean, Marlon Moraes won the first round, and then all of a sudden, man, Triple C was injured, you know, looked like he was out of it, just like in the Demetrius Johnson fight, and Cejudo got to the fight down and grounded and pounded Marlon Moraes. I mean, primarily because Moraes was out of gas in the third round. Before that, for Marlon Moraes, he won the rematch against Rafael Santos. Before that, beat Jimmy Rivera, knocked out Aljamain Sterling, beat John Dodson by split decision, and then his first fight in the UFC was, of course, that first Rafael Santos fight. Lost that one by split decision over in Rio de Janeiro on Aldo and Holloway. Yeah, I mean, Marlon Moraes at that point was coming off of that big run World Series of Fighting where he defended about, I believe, 7 times there. He was the guy. He was the guy at 135 at World Series of Fighting. I mean, he was the champion there for 2+ years. And yeah, the Santos fight, barely lost that one by split, and comes back, goes on a big run, beats the Santos. Again, fights Cejudo, loses that fight for the title. But I mean, yes, Marlon Moraes is a very good, man. He is a very good striker. His ground game's pretty good as well, but he's primarily known for the striking, even though Corey Sandhagen did get the best of him with that big spinning wheel kick in the second round. Overall record for Marlon Moraes of 23 wins, 7 losses, and 1 draw. I mean, if it means anything, 4 of those 7 losses did come in his first 10 fights. I mean, all those losses come from 2008 to 2011, the first 4, and then most recently the losses to Santos, Cejudo, and Corey Sandhagen. It's, again, one of these fights, tough to call because Rob Font, again, finally getting a really big name. He's getting, I believe Marlon Moraes is number 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he's number 3 because it'll be Sterling, Sandhagen, and then it should be Moraes at 3. And of course, the champion is Peter Yan. Hopefully, we get Peter Yan and Aldo very soon for the gold. Probably, I would say around March if I had to take a guess on that one. But yeah, I don't know. Marlon Moraes and Rob Font. Yes, Rob Font is a really good striker. He's not bad on the ground either. But I just, overall, man, I think everything Rob Font does, Marlon Moraes does better. And it's no knock on Rob Font, but people can't forget, man, Marlon Moraes is the number 3 bantamweight in the world. He just beat Jose Aldo, and yeah, he just fought for the title 3 fights ago in 2019. You can't forget that. You can't forget how good Marlon Moraes is just because he lost to the former champion Cejudo and Corey Sandhagen, who might be up next after the Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan fight. So I just, I like the fight for Rob Font. It's a really big opportunity here, but I just think overall, man, Marlon Moraes is just a little bit better. As for the official prediction, I don't think Marlon Moraes knocks him out. I say he probably wins by decision this one. I think Marlon Moraes can probably outstrike Rob Font. I would say kind of like the Jose Aldo fight. We'll see if it hits the mat. It'll get a whole lot more interesting if it does, but I think it'll be a stand-up fight, and I think Marlon Moraes is going to get the job done by unanimous decision. So what a fight this is, man. At welterweight, we've got Michel Pereira taking on Chaos Williams. Oh my goodness. Let's start here with Chaos Williams. So his last fight, he did beat Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Yeah, that fight just... It was the first punch thrown, and Williams just put him out with one shot. Like, this dude is for real, man. Chaos Williams, I doubted him in the Razak Al Hassan fight, but, man, Chaos Williams is a monster. And then the Alex Morono fight, of course, we talked about it earlier, just rushed him. First 20 seconds, late replacement fight, boom, got the job done as well. This man holds some serious power, man, and I mean serious. Before that, he fought in WXC, had a win over Jeremy Holloway and Bo Yan and Ladorius Jackson. But, I mean, we just gotta keep it simple here. Chaos Williams has serious power. Like, I mean, the dude can knock anyone out, and I believe that. And the Abdul Razak Al Hassan fight was huge, because, I mean, that's what Abdul Razak Al Hassan does to other people. He goes in there and just knocks them out in the first couple minutes, or, in this case for Chaos Williams, knocks him out in the first 30 seconds. Like, that's what Al Hassan does to other people. But no, Chaos Williams came in there, boom, first punch, put him down. And he was out for a while, apparently, according to Michael Bisping, which is a scary thing, but I'm sure Al Hassan is okay. Now, I mean, he has to be. It's a month later. But, I mean, yeah, Chaos Williams took no damage in that fight. I don't think he even took a punch. He didn't take a leg kick at all. And he's back against Michel Pereira. For Chaos Williams, overall record of 11 wins and 1 loss. I mean, I've already addressed it, man. He's got serious power. And that's really all I'm going to say right now about Chaos Williams. Let's now talk about Michel Pereira. So yeah, Michel Pereira's last fight, he did win by rear naked choke against Zalim Amadiev. I mean, a pretty good fight. I mean, yeah, he just put him down in the 3rd round and then got the finish, took his back, and won the fight. Before that, he didn't beat. He was gonna beat Diego Sanchez, but then Diego Sanchez, it's Michel Pereira's fight. You shouldn't need him while he was down. And then, yeah, Diego Sanchez, you should have taken the win, and he did. So good for Diego Sanchez. Got a win over Michel Pereira. Please retire, Diego. I mean, maybe have one more fight. Like, do the rematch with Mickey Gall and then retire. Maybe that would be nice. My problem with Michel Pereira is the Tristan Connolly fight. You want to tell me what Tristan Connolly is doing right now? Yeah, exactly. He hasn't fought since the Michel Pereira fight over in Vancouver in September. Cowboy Gagey. Tristan Connolly has not fought since, and that was Tristan Connolly's first fight in the UFC. And yes, that was the fight. I would say that was like the coming out party for Michel Pereira, even though he lost the fight. This is the fight where he missed weight. The fight was at welterweight. He had to come in at 171. He weighed in 172. Comes into the weigh-ins, does that crazy backflip off of the scale, even though he missed weight. Okay, comes into the fight, is doing the most absolute, like, the craziest stuff in there. I mean, he's just doing backflips every other second, jumping off the fence. But Tristan Connolly won the fight. And Tristan Connolly beat him up in that fight. And yes, it wasn't like a dominant performance by Connolly, but it was enough to say, okay, well, this guy won the fight, and it was Tristan Connolly. But, of course, the big story was still Michel Pereira coming out of that fight. And then, of course, his first fight in the UFC, incredible finish over Danny Roberts by KO, the big flying knee over on Dos Anjos. And Kevin Lee over in Rochester, New York. That was his first fight in the UFC. Before that, he was fighting in various promotions over in Asia, in Europe, in Brazil as well. He's been fighting all over the place. I mean, he's the former Heat welterweight champion over in Japan. He fought in Road FC, of course, in South Korea. And yeah, I mean, Michel Pereira has been fighting for a long time. He's been a pro since 2011. Current record for Michel Pereira of 24 wins and 11 losses. Again, some of these losses were the very beginning of his career. I mean, he started off his career 3-3, so there's that. And then, I mean, yeah, he started his career 16-8, and then since then, I mean, since 2016, he's been on a really big run. He's only lost 2 fights since 2016. Dusko Todorovic and Tristan Connolly, and I guess Diego Sanchez as well, so make that actually 3. So everyone's talking about this is gonna be the fight of the night potentially because of the style Michel Pereira brings. I'm gonna keep it real with you. Chaos Williams is gonna come in here and just finish him. Yeah, that is my prediction on this one. I don't think it's gonna be that close of a fight. I think Chaos Williams is that good. Yes, Michel Pereira has really good movement, and he's got really good head movement where he can probably get out the way of some of these shots by Chaos Williams, and I don't think it's going to be as quick as the first 2 Chaos Williams fights in the UFC. I don't think it's going to be a minute. I do, however, think it's going to be the first round. I think it'll be late in the first round. Chaos Williams is going to tag Michel Pereira in this one. And yeah, Pereira hasn't been knocked out. I don't know if he's ever been knocked out. He's only been knocked out actually once in his career, and of course it was the Dusko Todorovic fight over in Serbian Battle of Championships over in Serbia, of course, in 2018 for their middleweight championship. That is the only time Michel Pereira has been knocked out, and I think he's going to get knocked out again against Chaos Williams. The power that man has, Chaos Williams, is absolutely insane. And yes, again, Michel Pereira is going to do his crazy stuff in the octagon. Will it be enough to get away from Chaos Williams? It's not. Williams is going to hunt him down, and Chaos Williams is going to put him down. So yeah, we're gonna go with the Chaos Williams first round knockout, his 3rd straight in the UFC. Now on to the co-main event, we've got Marlon Cheeto Vera taking on Jose Aldo Jr. Oh man, what a fight we've got. All right, let's start here with the underdog in Marlon Vera. I don't know if he's the official underdog, but in the eyes of most fans, he is the underdog in this one just because it's Jose Aldo he's fighting. But man, do not sleep on Marlon Vera. I did in the Sean O'Malley fight, okay? I thought Sean O'Malley was going to win it. My apologies, he did not. Marlon Vera looked really good in the fight, and honestly, yes, I underestimated him because of the Song Yadong fight. Because the Song Yadong just always scrapes out decision and wins, and I was like, okay, well, the thing is, Sean O'Malley, yes, he fights a very different style than Song Yadong does, but I thought O'Malley's striking, again, at the time, I thought Sean O'Malley's striking was probably, I don't know, top 5 in the weight class, and it could potentially still be, but, I mean, we learned a lot from Marlon Vera in that fight. Like, very good. Yes, Sean O'Malley was doing his stupid games where he was bouncing around his feet or whatever, doing his, I don't know what he was doing, but he hurt his ankle, but I mean, that doesn't take anything away from the Marlon Vera performance. He outstruck him in that fight, and as soon as he knocked him down, I mean, yeah, it was over. And the leg kicks by Marlon Vera were very important in that one, too. Got him out in the first round. Really shocked a lot of people. And again, I think it was a Song Yadong performance that, that kind of made me think that, all right, well, O'Malley's probably going to win this one, but no, I mean, Marlon Vera looked very good in that last fight. Before that, I mean, he beat Andre Ewell, beat Frankie Saenz, beat Nolan Hernandez. A lot of big wins for Marlon Vera. Actually been fighting the UFC since 2014, it feels like. It doesn't feel like he's been fighting the UFC for that long. I mean, wins over Brian Kelleher, lost to John Lineker, beat Brad Pickett, lost to Davey Graham. I mean, there's a lot of notable names, beat Roman Salazar in there as well. And yeah, Cheeto, man, over a record of 16 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw. The big fight, of course, for him, though, was the Sean O'Malley fight, most notable fight. And again, I mean, he beat Sean O'Malley up. It was a 1-round. O'Malley really didn't do much in that fight. And it was, I mean, I don't think you can say it's a beatdown, but it was a really impressive performance against Sean O'Malley. And yeah, the Song Yadong fight, it was a pretty good fight. Song Yadong did get the better of Cheeto Vera in that one. But again, Marlon Vera did not look too bad in that one. The Andre Ewell fight knocked him out in about, I don't remember. Was it early in the 3rd round? I know it was in the 3rd round. But yeah, I remember that one. I was on Joanna and Waterston over in Tampa, Florida. Cheeto Vera did win that one. And before that, you got the Frankie Saenz fight. Frankie Saenz, it hasn't been great in the UFC. That was actually on a Wonderboy Thompson card. Pettis and Thompson over in Nashville, Tennessee. Of course, both of them are fighting on tonight's card as well. So yeah, that's Cheeto Vera. Let's talk about his opponent here, and the former champion, Jose Aldo Jr. So Jose Aldo's lost his last 3 fights. And yes, a lot of people thought he'd beat Marlon Moraes, again, myself included. But he lost to Pereira for the title. Lost to Marlon Moraes, lost to Alexander Volkanovski. And yes, Marlon Moraes challenged for the title. Peter Yan is the current champion. Petr Yan is the current champion. And Alexander Volkanovski is the current 145 champion. Before that, he beat Neto Moicano. Before that, beat Jeremy Stevens with the liver shot over in Calgary on the Alvarez Poirier 2 card. And then before that, he had his 2 fights with Max Holloway, lost them both for the title. Beat Frankie Edgar for the title. Lost to Conor McGregor before that. And then McGregor, of course, vacated because he went up to lightweight. And then before that, I mean, it was the big run of Jose Aldo. It was, I mean, just an incredible run for him. It started in WEC with that win over Cub Swanson. Then he beat Uriah Faber. Then he beat Mark Hominick, Kenny Florian, Chad Mendes, Frankie Edgar, Korean Zombie, Ricardo Lamas, Chad Mendes, and then, of course, he ran into Conor. And yeah, I mean, Conor just put him away in 13 seconds. To this day, I'm still interested if we got, you know, a longer fight than a couple minutes, or a couple minutes, than 10 seconds, right? I mean, again, it was a weird fight because Conor had all the momentum on his side, but, like, the fan support was definitely on Conor's side, but, like, all of the analysts and all the experts were telling you Jose Aldo is going to win the fight. Didn't happen. McGregor knocked him out in 13 seconds. I believe the anniversary of that was a couple days ago. Yes, it was. It was on the 12th, of course, UFC 190 for the co-main event. Hey, Luke Rockhold won the undisputed middleweight championship of the world against Chris Weidman. That was the classic, and this is still my boy fight. You love to see it. Chris Weidman's dad is the greatest. But yeah, Jose Aldo, current record of 28-7. But of course, the recent losses. Petr Yan, he got beat up in that fight. And yeah, he was holding his own up into the 5th round. But in the 5th round, man, Petr Yan got him to the ground. Why the fight wasn't stopped earlier, I don't know. Left Jose Aldo in a pool of his own blood. It was disgusting. And yeah, that fight should have been stopped earlier. But Aldo took a lot of damage in that fight. Again, that was in July. It's been a long time. It's been, what, a few 7 months in between. So it's been a while since we've seen Jose Aldo in the octagon. But and yeah, Alexander Volkanovski fight. Volkanovski just really put the pressure on him. It was in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It was on UFC 237, and Volkanovski put it on him. It's a tough prediction to call, but I'm gonna go with Chito Vera. Yeah. Okay, yes, Chito Vera is not on the same level as an Alexander Volkanovski, as Marlon Moraes, and as Petr Yan. Of course he's not. Those guys are in the top 5 of their own weight classes. 2 of them are the champion. Marlon Moraes is the former #1 contender, and hell, he's fighting Rob Font. If he wins that fight, he's gonna be the top 3 no matter what, right? If he wins that one. So I still think though Marlon Vera is just, he's too quick for Jose Aldo at this point in Aldo's career. And this is kind of reminding me of that point in Aldo's career where after the 2 Holloway losses, everyone just kind of wrote him off, man. Because he lost to Holloway twice, he lost to Conor, yes, he beat Frankie Edgar, but still. Comes in, Jeremy Stephens fight. Jeremy Stephens was supposed to win that fight. And Jose Aldo put him away with a liver shot in the 1st round. And it's kind of reminding me of that because, I mean, of course, like, Max Holloway, Frankie Edgar, Conor McGregor on a different level than Jeremy Stephens. It's the fact, right? He had to step down and fight Jeremy Stephens, and then he beat Renato Moicano afterwards, right? So he had to fight 2 guys who really weren't in the top 5 at that point in time. I believe Moicano was number 5 when he fought him, but still, he had to fight 2 guys who weren't at the elite of the division anymore. And it kind of feels like this again with Marlon Vera, because Marlon Vera, it's like number 14 right now in the ranking system, but I think Marlon Vera is going to win this one. I think, you know, what he did in the O'Malley fight was really impressive. No one's done that to Sean O'Malley in the past, right? That was the first time Sean O'Malley was ever beaten. And yeah, all around, man, Chito Vera looked very good in that fight. With the leg kicks, with his striking, of course, he's a striker. I mean, you could see this one. I doubt it's going to go to the ground, but you can't forget, Chito Vera is very good on the ground as well. He has a lot of wins by submission. Jose Aldo hasn't been on the ground in a while. He usually doesn't take fights to the ground. It'll be an interesting fight if Marlon Vera decides to take him down. Again, I doubt that will happen, but I think Marlon Vera is just too quick for Jose Aldo in this point of Aldo's career. He's too young, and yeah, it's time for the young blood. We're going with the Marlon Chito Vera. I'll say decision win. It is time for the main event of the evening. We've got Geoff Neal taking on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Of course, Wonderboy, a top 5 welterweight, the former title challenger, and Geoff Neal, man, the up-and-comer. This is a good one. Let's start here with Hands of Steel Neal. So, Geoff Neal's last fight, really impressive performance against Mike Perry. Caught him with a head kick. A minute into the fight, put him away. 90 seconds in on UFC 245, Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. Before that, Geoff Neal beat Nico Price. Another really good win. That was in Edmonton, Alberta. That was on Max Holloway and Frankie Edgar. Before that, beat Bilal Muhammad by unanimous decision on Cejudo and Dillashaw in Brooklyn, New York. Beat Frank Camacho before that on UFC 228 by KO. And the man gets finishes. It's that simple. Geoff Neal will get a lot of finishes every time he steps into the octagon. His last loss is to Kevin Holland. Yeah, he got TKO'd by Kevin Holland over an extreme knockout in 2017 in Dallas, Texas in the 3rd round. That was the last time he's lost. Yeah, it was to Kevin Holland in 2017 in an independent promotion, or regional promotion, excuse me, on that one. But what do we know about Geoff Neal? he's got amazing power. And yes, he has a submission win too in the UFC, but he's primarily known for the knockouts, and no one's been wanting to fight this dude. I mean, he's been looking for a fight for a while at this point, and Wonderboy, being the great man he is taking this fight. And it really, I mean, there's not much to win for Wonderboy in this one. I'm going to talk more about that later, but like, Jeff Neal has everything to win here. And if he loses, it's alright. I mean, hell, you'll lose to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I mean, the dude is the karate master. He's very good at striking on the edge, picking his strikes effectively. You know, he's really, really good at picking his shots. And, like, there's no shame in losing to Wonderboy. But for Stephen Thompson, like, what is there to win here? Yes, Jeff Neal has never been beaten in the UFC. He's the number 11 ranked guy in the weight class. But if you're Wonderboy, I mean, you want a name like Leon Edwards. I've been wanting that fight for a while. You want a name like George Masvidal. You want the rematch. Or hell, you even want Tyron Woodley. But he's getting into this main event spot. It is a big opportunity for Jeff Neal, because if you beat Wonderboy, you are permanently in the elite of the weight class. And yes, it didn't work that way for Anthony Pettis, but I mean, Pettis went on to fight Nate Diaz and lost. But if you look at everyone else who has beat Wonderboy in the past, all right, you got to go. His first loss was Matt Brown, UFC 145. Yeah, that was in Atlanta, Georgia. That's a long time ago. I mean, hell, that was John Jones and Rashad Evans. All right, that was Wonderboy's second fight in the UFC. But if you want to go to his next loss, Tyron Woodley for the title, right? Then after that, Darren Till. I mean, okay, Woodley, of course, held on the championship for a long time after that. But the big fight for me is Darren Till. Again, Darren Till, after winning that fight, was, I believe, going to the fight was number 9. Wonderboy is number 1. You beat Wonderboy, even though Darren Till missed weight by 4 pounds. We're not going to talk about that, though. But he beats Wonderboy and then gets a title shot after. And no, I'm not saying Jeff Neal with the win here will get the shot against Kamaru Usman. If he wins this fight, he's 2 fights away. So, I mean, still, he's got to fight a couple more fighters, and he's going to have to deal with one of the elite guys in the weight class. I mean, the way I kind of see the welterweight division, you know, I'll lay it out right now. So, the way I see the welterweight division, there's everyone like in the B tier, right? We've got the guys such as Khamzat Chimaev. We've got the guys Vicente Luque. We got the Jeff Neals of the world. We've got the Neil Magnies. We've got the Michael Chiesas. We've got the Damian Maias, and we've got the Tyron Woodleys of the world, right? Then we got the A tier. The A tier is Wonderboy. For me, it's Wonderboy, Masvidal, Edwards, and Burns. Those are the guys who are in the A tier. And then we've got the elite guys, who I would say it's Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. Those two guys, for me, are like, those two guys are going to be the top 2 guys in the weight class for a while. I anticipate we're going to see a trilogy at one point between those two. I mean, it's just a matter of time before those two fight again for the title. But like, that's how I see it. So with the win here for Jeff Neal, he's going to crack into that top 5. And the top 5 are straight killers. Again, Usman, Covington, Burns, Edwards, Masvidal, Wonderboy. If you beat Wonderboy, your next fight, you're only going up. You're probably fighting the loser of Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. I mean, you don't get any more easy fights after this. Like, you honestly do not. And yes, I put Khamzat Chimaev in the lower tier just because he hasn't beat anyone. If he beats Leon Edwards, hey, he's in the A tier. But, man, it is a tremendous opportunity here for Jeff Neal. Hey, will he have enough to knock out Wonderboy or put Wonderboy down like Anthony Pettis did? That's going to be tough, but let's talk about Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And Wonderboy's last fight against Vicente Luque was very good. I mean, again, he was coming off the first time he's ever been knocked out against Anthony Pettis. He comes into that Vicente Luque fight, who, kind of like this situation again, no one's ever beat Vicente Luque in the UFC. Dude looked unstoppable for a damn long time. And, okay, yes, I know Leon Edwards beat him back in 2017, but still, at that point, no one beat Vicente Luque in about 4 years. But Wonderboy comes in there, drops Luque about 5 times in that fight. I mean, it was just a pure masterclass performance by Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. We've talked about the Anthony Pettis fight multiple times in this video. Don't need to go over it again. The Darren Till fight, it was a weird fight. I mean, it's kind of a classic Wonderboy fight. If Wonderboy doesn't get the knockout or doesn't really go for it, it's going to be a boring fight. Hence, the second Tyron Woodley fight, which, by the way, I thought he probably won. I don't know. But the Darren Till fight, yeah, like, Wonderboy will always sit outside, and he's got the karate style, of course, right? And he's always going to try to kick his way in, right? So he does that really nice side kick that Chris Weidman tried to do against Omari Akhmedov, but I don't know why he did that. But again, Wonderboy's got the karate style, and he's always going to wait for that one shot. He's always going to wait for that one punch to put his opponent away. Kind of the Robert Whittaker fight. If you can go watch that fight, it was a long time ago. UFC 170 it was. Ronda Rousey versus Sarah McMahon. And yeah, he fought a really good fight in that one against Robert Whittaker when Robert Whittaker used to fight at 170, and he just caught him. He waited for him. it was a really impressive performance, and that really put Wonderboy on the map, even though, I mean, Whitaker really wasn't an established name at that point. I mean, the big fight for Wonderboy was, I would say, the Jake Ellenberger fight, and then he beat Johnny Hendricks, and that really set him up for big fights. But yeah, I mean, Wonderboy is very good at just waiting for his opponent. Now, Jeff Neal is a power guy, and the last time we saw Wonderboy fight a guy with a crap ton of power, who was it? It was Vicente Luque, right? And I think Wonderboy's probably gonna do the same thing to Neal like what he did to Vicente Luque. Like, Wonderboy's not gonna trade with you. That's not what he does. And Jeff Neal, yeah, he's fought guys who will trade with them. Mike Perry, Nico Price. Wonderboy's not gonna do that. He's just gonna sit on the outside. He's gonna wait. And yes, it might not be the most entertaining fight, but Wonderboy's gonna pick his spots in this fight. And I don't know if he's gonna put away Jeff Neal, but he's gonna give him a very tough time. Like, Jeff Neal, again, this is a really big step up in opponents. You go from Mike Perry to Wonderboy Thompson. Like, there are not many guys on this planet who have beat Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in a fight. And the few exceptions are the former world champion in Anthony Pettis, the former world champion in Tyron Woodley, and, I mean, Matt Brown was a long time ago, Darren Till, and that's it. So, it's very tough to beat Wonderboy, and I don't think Jeff Neal's going to do it. Yeah, my pick, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Now, does he finish him? I don't know, because the Jorge Masvidal fight, we haven't even talked about that one. Jorge Masvidal's last loss before fighting Usman for the belt was against Wonderboy. And Wonderboy just did the same thing. He just stayed on the outside and really just pieced him together. He dropped Masvidal multiple times in that fight. So yeah, I think Wonderboy's gonna do the same thing to Jeff Neal here. Again, Wonderboy's not gonna stand and trade. For Jeff Neal to win this fight, he's gotta try to find a way to make Wonderboy exchange with him and just trade. It's not gonna happen, because Wonderboy's a very good counterpuncher as well, because if Jeff Neal just comes in and he just tries to rush Wonderboy, it's not gonna work. Steve Wonderboy Thompson's just gonna counter him, and it's gonna be over. So, official prediction, I say Wonderboy finishes him in the 4th round. I think the fight will get pretty late in the fight, go to the championship rounds, and I think that's where Wonderboy will finish him. Now, where does Wonderboy go from here? Leon Edwards and Hamzat Chimaev apparently are going to fight. Jorge Masvidal rematch. It's probably not going to happen, because Masvidal wants a big fight, but I think that would be the best fight, or Leon Edwards if he doesn't fight Hamzat. Who knows? Maybe the loser of Burns and Usman. Again, I think that those fights are all on the table. Colby, I doubt that fight's going to happen as well. But yeah, folks, that will do it for the main card here on UFC Fight Night. Wonderboy Thompson versus Jeff Neal. Thank y'all for watching. Again, if you missed the prelims, go watch that one. The link for that one is in the description down below. Again, folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to subscribe button down below for more, and Mamba forever.